sorry, I forgot the new name, Chairperson, but the Hawks, then the IP, FIC, SARS, and Public Protector South Africa. So those are the institutions that we work very closely with. Then obviously the NPA, because our matters will refer all our referrals where we have evidence that points to the criminal conduct, we refer those to the NPA. In terms of the recoveries, we do have powers to recover, Chairperson. The SIU has the powers to recover any ill-gotten funds through our special tribunal and high courts, and there are other entities with the same powers, being the AFU, the Asset Forfeiture Unit, SARS, as well as Reserve Bank. All of those, they do have then the powers to recover. In terms of the prevention, there was an observation from the SIU and other entities that this is the area that is currently uncoordinated or disintegrated. So in terms of then the UNCAC Article 5 and 6, the NDP, the NACS, and then the NACAC, the SIU then is currently driving the National Corruption Risk and Prevention Framework. And in terms of this, the SIU work in this forum, we are busy currently assisting most of the departments with the risk identification, and then we do that through some kind of data analytics platforms where we use predictive measures. We've got our own internal analysts that we have hired who are in the process of then analyzing information and data that is in the possession of SIU for risk mitigation. So then we are also involved in the awareness and education. We are also forward in terms of ethics warranties, lifestyle analysis and audits, and also then these predictive measures that I've indicated through then the NGCA and DPCA. In terms of then the vulnerable sectors, Chairperson, we have identified a number of vulnerable sectors, and in terms of those, we were leading in the formation of these anti-corruption forums. And the first one that was identified was the Health Sector Forum, where we established a Health Sector Anti-Corruption Forum, and then followed by the Infrastructure Build Anti-Corruption Forum, local government. All these are the forums that are already established. Then that was followed by the Border Management, also Anti-Corruption Forum. And then last week, as you would have noticed, Chairperson, we launched the Water Sector Anti-Corruption Forum. So I will move then our critical skills. We've got forensic data analysts, forensic accountants, forensic investigators, civil litigation lawyers, forensic legals, as well as cyber forensic specialists. The SIU Outcomes and Consequence Management Chair, as already indicated earlier on, we are in the main, we institute civil proceedings where there is or are potential recoverables in terms of the assets. We also apply for preservation orders at an early stage where there is prima facie evidence. We institute civil proceedings to prevent further and future losses. In terms of the disciplinaries, when we identify any evidence of misconduct by the employees of the entities that we investigate, we also refer that evidence to the state institutions, as well as then the evidence that we refer to NPA. We also work with other regulatory bodies, Chairperson, like SARS, like Competitions Commission, the Construction Industry Board, the Construction Industry Development Board, as well as then the Health Products Regulatory Authority. We also recommend for the blacklisting of certain service providers where we have identified any wrongdoing by the service providers. Then in terms of, as well as the directors, and then in terms of then our investigation, we also make observations. And our observations in terms of what are then the weaknesses in terms of the systems in the department or the state institution under investigation. And based on those systemic weaknesses identified, we make some systemic recommendations. The motivation for proclamation process, Chairperson. This is also very important for the committee to understand how we get to the proclamation process. We do receive allegations, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, from any member of the public, the state institution. We actually do receive our allegations across the board. And then once we receive an allegation, we register the same. And then we then prepare the evidence based on the allegations that we receive for the case assessment. We also have our internal case assessment committee that deals with all the allegations to assess against jurisdictional requirements of the SIU Act. And then the outcome of that will either then refer then the matter back to the SAPS or any other law enforcement agency, or to proceed to a motivation for a proclamation. In other cases, we then recommended that the allegations be closed. Then once it's prepared, it's assessed and processed for motivation, we prepare a motivation for proclamation. Once the motivation is approved by the head of the SIU, then it gets submitted to the DOJ, to the Department of Justice, and then Department of Justice processes the motivation, obviously asking questions of clarity where there is a need. And then the motivation then gets submitted to the Minister of Justice. And once the Minister approves the motivation, DOJ submits the same to the Presidency. And then the Presidency then approves the proclamation. DOJ then attends to the publication of the proclamation in the Government Gazette. And then that's when the SIU will commence on any investigation upon the proclamation, the publication of the proclamation. Thanks. Then I'll move to then the update on the investigations. Chairperson, between 2021 and 2026, the SIU received 3 proclamations which fall within the mineral and petroleum portfolio. And all of these matters are currently under investigation. The first one is R206 of 2024. This is an investigation that is part of a broader investigation into a number of entities that at the time utilized the services of New Age Media Pty Ltd. Some of the investigations that are under, some of the entities that are under investigation will be SABC, Eskom, Transnet SAA, then Petro SA, and the Department of Human Settlement. For the purposes of this investigation, our report will be limited to only Petro SA. Then the second one will be R208 of 2024, which is a proclamation that was published on the 1st of November 2024. And the investigation is against African Exploration, Mining and Finance Corporation. That as well is still ongoing. Then the last one is R45 of 2021. And this proclamation was amended by R254 of 2025. And the latest proclamation was published on the 28th of March 2025. This investigation is against Alexkor, State-Owned Company Limited, and State Diamond Traders. These investigations, Honorable Chair and members, are all ongoing. In terms of then the New Age, that will be then the first one that we want to report on. The new age, it's investigated under 206, and we can report, Chairperson, that this investigation is near its finalization. These were in relation to the new age breakfast briefings brought to you by SABC, hosted by TNA. That was the phase of this investigation. And then the African Exploration, Mining, Finance and Finance Corporation. The investigation is also published. It was published on 1st of November. In terms of the proclamation, the SIU is required to investigate allegations in respect of certain affairs of the AEMFC, hereinafter referred to as then that. The proclamation schedule mandates the investigation, the SIU to investigate the procurement within the AEMFC. Then Alexkor. In terms of Alexkor, the SIU is mandated in terms of R45. That proclamation, Chairperson, was at some stage put on hold pending the amendment of the proclamation due to some issues with the wording in the proclamation. Then prior the amendment, the highlighted areas were not in old or proclamation. The proclamation was amended to add certain institutions. So then what we are mandated to investigate is serious maladministration in the affairs of the institutions, which is Alexkor, Alexkor Richfield Mining Company, a pooling and share joint venture, as well as then the state diamond trader in respect of marketing, valuation, sale, including any decision not to buy and beneficiation of diamonds pursuant to agreements and contracts concluded between institutions on the one hand and service providers, traders, auctioneers, bidders, or buyers of diamonds on the other hand. Then we are also mandated to investigate serious maladministration in the affairs of Alexkor SOC Limited in respect of contracts concluded with and fees paid to Regiment's Capital Pty Ltd. Any improper or any undisclosed, unauthorized interest or unlawful conduct by board members, officials, employees, agents of the institution, service providers, traders, auctioneers, bidders and buyers of diamonds, and any other person or entity in relation to the serious maladministration. This matter, Chairperson, was investigated as part of then the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, and the SIU is working together with the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption, that is IDEC. Then details in terms of then the proclaimed matters. Chairperson, I will not then detain the committee unnecessarily, but I will then, because I'm taking the presentation as having been read, because it was shared earlier on. In terms of then the progress on the Petro SA investigation, Chairperson, we have established that between the years 2012 and 2016, Petro SA participated in and paid sum of only 53,477 for the breakfast briefings, which were conducted by the TNA media. The sponsorship proposal was motivated and approved by former officials. So currently, the officials that are in the Petro SA, they joined the entity after then the set dates of those approvals. Most of the evidence related to the said breakfast briefings was either destroyed or removed by the previous employees, and most of the records were never archived or saved on the available network platforms. Despite diligent searches by Petro SA officials supported by affidavits, most of the records could not be located due to missing archives and loss of departmental documentation. There is no further evidence which suggests that Petro SA initiated or concluded a competitive bidding process, nor advertised any tender or initiated any procurement process for the acquisition of media-related services with TNA Media. The evidence provided to the SIU was to the effect that sponsorship-related activities did not require a competitive bidding process. So there was no policy in place to govern Petro SA's participation in sponsorship. A consideration for issuing systemic recommendation is underway from the SIU. Petro SA's internal records do not support the allegation that Petro SA spent 28.4 million rand. That was the allegation that was received by the SIU at the initial stage. So the allegations then indicated that this 28.4 million was spent on the TNA breakfast business briefings. Records relating to such expenditure were not traceable within the organization's archives or the filing systems, and no duplicate or supporting documents could be located. The verifiable payments were made solely for Petro SA representatives' participation in TNA-hosted breakfast briefings, not for sponsorship or long-term engagement. The investigation could not establish any evidence that suggests that funds were spent by Petro SA for breakfast briefings, provided or did not provide any value for money. So the funds that were spent, that is the 53,000 rand, it was only for the representatives. That's far. The investigation did not reveal any evidence of criminal conduct by or the identified role players. This, in the absence of then the relevant records, it has made it impossible for the SIU to conduct a full assessment of compliance with applicable legislation or internal processes. And in all instances of identified irregularities, the SIU will consider the necessary remedial actions. Then I'm moving, Chairperson, to the AEMFC investigation. The first allegation, Chairperson, is then the focus area is under the coal insourcing in 2018. This investigation is on progress. The investigation into the procurement irregularities and possible overpayment to service provider. The progress in terms of this investigation is that the service provider was procured to provide 300,000 to 350 tons of Eskom certified coal from that mine to Kendal Power Station at a rate of 7 rand 13 cents per gigajoule, and the transportation of coal was charged at a rate of 64 rand 78 cents per ton. The contract between the service provider and AEMFC was scheduled to expire in February 2019. However, the service provider continued to render these services and invoiced the state institution until June 2019. As a result of this extension, an amount of 64 million rand was paid to the service provider beyond the contractual period. And then in terms of then the investigation is still ongoing. We are, as a potential outcome, we anticipate that we will pursue civil recovery in terms of then the over expenditure that was incurred, and also consider the disciplinary referrals as well as NPA referrals. The second focus area is around then the irregular procurement process in the appointment of management consulting company to review mining contracts during 2016. This company was appointed chairperson on 3 occasions to review aspects of the tender process. And then they followed the processes that were followed in the adjudication of bids from potential contract service providers. Then the first appointment that was made was on the 7th of March for an amount of 229. It's not very material amounts. 3 quotations were requested, 2 quotes were evaluated, and the management consulting company was appointed. The second appointment was on 29 June for the verification and opinion on BEE certificate. The mining consultant company was appointed for 193,000 rand as a sole source provider, whilst there is clear evidence that this was not a sole source service provider. The third appointment of the management consulting company was also procured in August 2016 as a sole source again to perform detailed analysis of the BBBEE certificates of certain service providers and to provide DTI and SANA's view of treatment of then the BBBEE ownership for SA multinationals. The service provider was paid 342,000 rand for this service. The invoice was submitted 2 days after then the appointment was made. The team is currently verifying the service delivery in terms of these 3 appointments. The next one is then the investigation into the procurement irregularities relating to the appointment of service provider for asset-based financiers. This investigation, the chairperson, is also ongoing. The service provider was appointed on 29 August to an open tender process for leasing of mining machinery for a period of 60 months at a cost of 310 million rand. The bidders were required to provide proof of registration with the Financial Service Board. However, the winning bidders submitted financial service provider letter reflecting FSP number belonging to their insurance broker company, not their own FSP number. The service provider's bid documents was not responsive and should have been disqualified as they did not have proof that they were registered with FSP. Within 5 months of their appointment, the service provider wrote a letter to the AEMFC informing them that they are not able to deliver as per the contract due to lack of funds. On the 6th of March 2020, then AEMFC wrote to National Treasury to request approval for the condonation, and in a response letter, the National Treasury declined to approve this request. We are still in the process of investigating this matter because we want to quantify the amount that was paid to this entity when it was actually unable to deliver on the contract. Then the fourth one is the investigation into procurement irregularities relating to the appointment of a service provider for coal insourcing in 2017. In this matter, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, it appears that the director of the appointed service provider had a business relationship with the senior officials at AEMFC, but the investigation again is still ongoing. The next 2 contracts that are under investigation is then the investigation into irregular appointment of a service provider for the construction of a clean water diversion and a stream wetland crossing for a period of 6 months at Vlakfontein Mine. The contract was awarded to a service provider for an amount of 12.6 million rand. The investigation revealed possible manipulation of evaluation as the points allocated on the evaluation score sheet were altered. The service provider was appointed for 6 months and was on site for about 12 months. However, this investigation is still ongoing. we anticipate that we will be able to recover any amounts that were paid over and above the contract amount, and also to look at then the manipulation of the scores in the evaluation scores that were allocated. Then the other one is then the procurement, the investigation to procurement irregularities in the process for the supply of diesel. Then the state institution invited bids for the supply of diesel for a period of 36 months. On 11 May 2017, AEMFC board resolved to appoint a service provider for the provision of diesel and a fuel management system for a period of 36 months with a contract value of 126 million rand. This investigation, Chairperson, is still ongoing. We have not made any findings at this stage. Now we are moving to Alexkor, Chairperson. I've already indicated the focus areas in terms of Alexkor. I will then rush to then the issues, the progress, and then the preliminary findings. The first one is the procurement of SSI in 2014. And this relates to the procurement irregularities in respect of service provider for marketing and selling of diamonds. What we have found thus far is that there were contraventions of Section 217 of the Constitution, in that there was no transparency in the briefing sessions, as sessions were held individually with potential bidders and no minutes were recorded. The terms of reference were crafted or tailor-made in such a way that it allowed SSI to bid whilst not having the required license. Then there was also contravention of Treasury Regulation 16 capital A 6.2, as no BEC or BAC was established. There's also contravention of Treasury Regulation 16 capital A 6.3, as the evaluation criteria not included in the bid document and the bid evaluated against criteria that was not in the bid document. There's also misrepresentation that we identified by SSI Director in relation to the submission of his bank guarantee letter. In terms of this investigation, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, we are now in the process of referring this matter to the civil litigation to invalidate and recover funds from the company, which is SSI. Then we also have we are also making observations in terms of the employees that were involved, even though they have left the employ, but we are considering whether to refer disciplinaries in case they move to another state institution. Then in November 2022, we made a referral to the NPA for possible criminal prosecution against the board. And this one, Honorable Chairperson, is ongoing. We are in constant engagements with IDEC in terms of this investigation. The second one is the investigation into procurement irregularities in respect of service provider for marketing and selling of diamonds. Here we have observed that the procurement needs, the needs analysis were not clearly defined. There was a contravention again of the Treasury Regulation, there were no BEC committees that were formed. There was also contravention in this one of the Diamonds Act, as the service provider did not have a license to sell, to purchase, to beneficiate, and run a trading house. There's also contravention of 217 in the irregular disqualification of other bidders, rendering the process incompetitive. Then in this one also we are considering then the disciplinary referrals. then this is also part of the NPA referral that we made to NPA in November 2022. And then we are also then awaiting a diamond valuator to also assist us in terms of then the valuation of what the state may have lost in terms of this investigation. The third investigation is an investigation into allegations of possible diamonds being undervalued by the service providers, resulting in loss to Alexkor and miners. Our observations in terms of this investigation is that the service provider sold the diamonds on a closed auction instead of a competitive process. 44 sales held by the service provider from 2015 to August 28 to 2020. This service provider invited non-associate auctioneers, creating a risk of conflict of interest and possible collusive transaction. The investigation in respect of the valuation and quantification of the diamonds that we are reporting on is still ongoing. We anticipate to pursue a civil recovery, and if there are any, if there's any evidence of conflict, we will refer the matter to the NPA. Then the next one is then the investigation to establish if the 5% of the beneficiation that was supposed to be there, if it was fairly and correctly paid for. In terms of our observations and the progress, the preliminary findings, we've established that the selection of diamonds to be beneficiated was at the sole discretion of the service provider, which created a possible risk of manipulation. The service provider could remove the top quality stones before they are sold on auction. The service provider responsible for the beneficiation is an associate of the service provider appointed for selling diamond, and they are operating at the same address. And the investigation in respect of the beneficiation and quantification thereof is ongoing. So we are still going to determine the potential outcomes. Then the next one is then the 10% offer to state diamond trading, if it was fairly done. The Diamond Act requires that all diamond producers offer to the state diamond trading all the unpolished diamonds they produce at the end of the production cycle, as well as the fair market value determined for those diamonds. The state diamond trader is then to purchase up to 10% of the value and carats of the unpolished diamond. It appears that the selection of the 10% of the two state diamond trading was in some instances selected or done by the Alexkor appointed service provider, and the other time by SDT inspectors, which is state diamond trading inspectors. In this instance, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, the investigation is still ongoing because we want to look at the fairness of the process. Then there are other areas of our investigations that are still at the beginning. We are not going to be pronouncing on this because we have not made, Chairperson, any preliminary findings. Then I'll go to then the key observations in terms of each matter. In terms of then the TNA, the Petro SA, we observed that there were no formalized policies, procedures, or guidelines to direct the administration and oversight of donations and sponsorship within Petro SA. There were no preventive controls or data protection mechanism to safeguard institutional information, resulting in the possibility that former employees may have removed or destroyed critical records. Key personnel who participated in historical processes have since exited the organization, resulting in challenges in retrieving, supporting documentation, and confirming past activities. We are in the process of making systemic improvements and recommendations to Petro SA, and part of those then we are recommending that Petro SA to consider some of the things, and then where they have already started, we are still going to be motivating for recommending for more other actions. So Petro SA has since developed relevant policies, including those related to donations and sponsorship. A recommendation to the effect that all such policies should be supported by periodic compliance reviews to ensure ongoing adherence and early identification of control weaknesses will then be considered. Then also, Petro SA is to strengthen its information governance by implementing a comprehensive records and information management framework that ensures secure storage, controlled access, proper retention schedules, and reliable backup protocols. The next one is Petro SA is to create a structured knowledge and records retention system to ensure critical documents are captured, archived, and accessible regardless of then the staff turnover. Then under AEMFC, we've observed poor record keeping. In this institution, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, AEMFC does not have most of the original information. We are currently relying on copies obtained from a service provider who previously performed an investigation within the entity. And there's also a lack of contract management to ensure that contracts are delivered. So in terms of our recommendations, we are recommending that AEMFC to comply with PFMA Treasury regulations and approved policies to enforce the compliance with approved government policies. The record management framework, we are recommending that they must develop a comprehensive record management policy outlining the organization's approach to record creation, storage, retrieval, and disposal. We also would like the AEMFC to designate a record management system. This is to assign a dedicated record management system to oversee the implementation of record management policy and ensure compliance. We are also recommending that the system should then be implemented. That is then to install a document management system to securely store, manage, and retrieve electronic documents and record. And then also establish the retention and the disposal schedules. That is the creation of retention, disposal schedules to ensure that records are kept for a required period and disposed of securely and efficiently. Under Alexkor chairperson, we have observed that there is a general disregard of supply chain management processes during evaluation and adjudication of the bids, in that the committees are not properly constituted and that there is disregard of tender specification in the appointment of service providers. And what we are recommending at this point, whilst the investigation is still ongoing, is for Alexkor to appoint its own independent diamond expert to assist with valuation and ensure value for money. Then that they must comply with PFMA, Treasury regulation, approved policies, that by doing so, it will then enforce compliance with approved government policies. Chairperson, in conclusion, all investigations within mineral and resource portfolio are ongoing, and observations are made. The observations that are already made are based on the preliminary findings made. Proclamation 45 of 2021 has recently been amended with Proclamation R254 of 2025 within the extended scope to look at other areas. And then the SIU is working closely with NPA on matters relating to Alexkor that we've already referred. That brings me to then the conclusion of the of our presentation, Chairperson. Chair, when I started, because they were still trying to gain access, I did not stop sharing. I did not introduce the team from the SIU, Chairperson. And at this point, Chairperson, maybe before the questions, I would like to then request the colleagues from the SIU to introduce. I've got our CLC Chief Legal Counsel, who Advocate Dutuzelo Vanara, who was part of the SIU. She is also part of the meeting. I've got the two leads investigators in this investigation, Advocate Redbone Libopa, as well as Mr. Jabu Masilela, who are also part. And then I've got Miss Babalwan Nangisa, who's also part of the meeting. I'm not sure, Chairperson, if I'm forgetting someone. Colleagues, can you please assist? Thank you so much, Chairperson. I will pause here.
Is there anyone to complete the introduction? If not completed?
Or we are allowed
all
to
in order, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable members, there is the briefing by the SIU. Can I see hands of people who want to interact with it? Actually, not people, honorable members. Before I get into trouble by having other people raising their hands as well. I will take Honorable Mani, Honorable Selepe, Honorable Ntlangwini, Honorable Senne. Okay, it's Mani, it's Selepe, Ntlangwini, it's Senne, it's Zondi, it's Mufukeng, those are the names I have now. Honorable Hassan. Yeah, let's take it in that order. Honorable Mani, you are the first.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to everyone in the platform. Greetings, Minister, and the SIU team. Chairperson, first, let me just welcome this presentation. We were very well prepared, professionally presented, and all. And I can only describe what I've seen here today in my language, and I don't know how to translate this in English. But it's very clear. That's what it is. My friends who are Zulu would have said, mean. This is what it is, Chairperson. Chairperson, I know you are a very structured person, but in the intro, just before you say we're not here for that, but in the intro, the presenter, Mr. Sibe, mentioned what they can and cannot do. They cannot arrest and all of that. And she also mentioned that they can blacklist. So in terms of that issue, I just wanted to just check first and foremost whether in the blacklisting list, do they have Medicare and the Maumele outfit, the one where they took all those Porsche cars from? So I just want to know, just in terms of that intro, Chair. So I'm still within what was presented today. Right, now going back into the main issues of the presentations, I just have 4 questions for the SIU and 1 question for the Minister. For the SIU, the first one is that this presentation confirms serious irregularities in procurement and in governance at Alexkor. So, firstly, Chairperson, let me foreground this by saying, in terms of the nitty-gritty investigations and all, and the technicalities, I'm not going to go there because I trust that these are professionals who have done their work. I give them 10 out of 10. I just want to, mine will be based really on accountability issues. That can you place on record the names of the specific individuals, whether board members, executive
Recording in
officials,
progress.
who authorized or benefited from these irregular decisions, and indicate which of them are currently facing disciplinary, civil, or criminal proceedings. Otherwise, it looks like we're just talking and talking and talking. I'm really interested to know at the end of the day who is actually going to answer for this mess that we've seen across these entities. In terms of the quantification of the loss to the state, clearly as a committee here, for us to be able to exercise our oversight, we need to know the scale of the damage. So the question is, what is the quantified financial loss to Alexkor and the South African state arising from the irregular diamond marketing arrangements and contracts under investigation, and how much of that amount has already been recovered? Then thirdly, in terms of the political exposure and beneficiaries, given the history of capture in the state entities, has the SIU uncovered any links between the companies involved, such as Scarlet Sky Investments, ABDC, or Regiment's Capital, and politically exposed persons, political office bearers, or their associates? I think the time to out these people has come. And then the last question for Alexkor. Alexkor operates in partnership. Question for SIU, beg your pardon. Alexkor operates in partnership with Richtersveld community through the pooling and sharing joint ventures. Has SIU determined whether the community's rightful revenue shares was prejudiced by these irregular transactions? And if so, what restitution mechanisms are being pursued to compensate the community? So that's all for the SIU. Then to the minister. Chairperson, actually
How many questions do you have, Honorable Man?
No, just one for the minister.
Okay.
Which is one I'm going to ask.
All right.
Minister, the PFMA, Section 63, puts financial responsibility on you as the executive authority on the entities under your administration. The question is, and we know that there are regular reports that you would have been receiving from these entities, you and your predecessors. And I would like to know what exactly to do with these reports. Surely what the SIU is telling us today is not something that you are also shocked to hear. Surely it would have been coming through in various monthly reports and all of that. What exactly to do to practice oversight? I want to put it to you, Minister, that what we are witnessing today, what we are being told today, I'm putting it to you that this shows the executive authority failure to exercise oversight. You and your predecessors have failed the people of South Africa, because there would have been audit reports, there would have been all kinds of reports that are given to you. But in this presentation today, the SIU is not even saying that since Minister Mantashe started, we're seeing the recovery, we're seeing the trend improving. They are just putting things in present tense. That is a mess as we speak. And this is you in charge, Minister. So there is no evidence here by SIU that your being in charge has had any positive impact in terms of turning the tide. What have you done, Minister, to give effect to Section 63 of the PFMA? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mani. On a lighter note, Honorable Mani, I was just laughing here that if you want names of everybody, do you also want TNA media names?
In fact, I thought that
But
would come, Chair. It can come. That TNA was in 2012, 2013, long before I took over
okay,
TNA. So
no,
yeah, no, I was ready for that. No, it's way,
that
way
was on a
before your
later
time.
note.
Yeah, put on a
Um,
lighter note.
Can we do this? We will respond to Honorable Mani's questions now and then proceed to the next person who will be Honorable Silepe. May I start with the Honorable Minister, considering that there is only one question? Honorable Minister.
I think Honorable Mani is just throwing the net wide. I was listening to the report and compare it to the report we have tabled to the Portfolio Committee on Alexkor, which we have just taken, and the work we're doing in Alexkor. And Mani says, since you took over, I will see nothing. You can't say anything, you are removed from the reality. You are not operational. You do oversight. So you can't see processes that were in. But what I want to emphasize, as I have been emphasizing all the time, is that instead of getting myself into the operations, I put a lot of emphasis on governance. And that governance reduce both operational and financial risks. I'm just reminding you this. And I will continue doing so that it is not the minister who is operational. It should be the executive, overseen by the board, and then the minister have a distant oversight over the board. And that's what I'm doing. And I can assure you that we took over Alexkor from DPE as a dead entity. It was in disclaimer for a number of years. It is with us now. We are going to turn it around. We're working on it. We've got an active chairperson there, and that chairperson and the board do work in Alexkor. I can also give you a hint that our view is that actually Alexkor, as the alluvial mining company, should be separated from the land rights of that area. We are still working on that to actually clear the role of Alexkor as opposed to the community asset, which is the ground asset. And I said to you before, the most distressing thing in Alexkor is that only Alexkor is a management structure. The Rechterveld mining company has no management structure at all. And therefore it is a frog and a lizard spun together. They can't move to the same direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mandashe. Ms. Klesibe for the SIU.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chairperson. I will also invite my colleagues to assist with some of the technical questions. Chairperson, on the blacklisting question of Medicare 24 and other Mamele entities, we remember, Chair, our investigations are evidence-based. As and when we find evidence of any wrongdoings against any company, we refer that to the state institution for the blacklisting. And we are doing that for all the entities that we investigate. And at this point, Medicare 24 is not in our records for investigation. We are not investigating any allegations relating to this entity. Then the request to place on record the names of the people that are involved in some of the wrongdoings, Chairperson, as I've indicated, most of our investigations are ongoing, and we have not given the persons of interest any rights of reply. Otherwise, I would have indicated that. We first start by giving the persons of interest a right of reply before we can publicize their names. So at the moment, Chair, would like to request through you, Chairperson, that we avoid sending the list of names, and then if there is any need, maybe we respond to the committee in writing, Chairperson, just to protect then the people that are involved in this investigation. In terms of then the quantification of loss to the state, I would then allow Mr. Advocate Redibone Libopa to respond to some of the questions. Thank you, Chairperson.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members, Minister and GM, and let me observe the protocol that has already been observed. In respect of quantification, members would have noted that as we are presenting, there was a reflection on a presentation showing that the process is ongoing. We are doing so to ensure that when we report, we are giving you the facts that has been verified by our accountants. But we are in a process of doing that process. So at the moment, I would really request the members to allow us time to finalize that portion before we give the specific figures, so that we are able to talk to or correct or verified figures in relation to what we have. Linked to that question of quantification and verification also, there was issue of the benefit to the members of the Risterfeld community in terms of the losses. The quantification process itself, it's looking at the entire value chain in respect of areas of how the money was divided, be it on the 10%, on the 5% for beneficiary and SDT, including what money which went back to the mine to various partners, that will be Alexkor or the miners or divers. So that holistic approach will be able to give the SIU a clear picture in terms of where was a fair or unfair distribution of money. Thank you.
Okay, Libopa, I think, Chairperson, we have covered then the questions on the prejudice by the prejudice to the people. It will also then be dealt with when we have appointed our evaluator, the expert who is going to then do the evaluation on all those processes. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Can we proceed to Honorable Selepe?
No follow-up, Chair.
Okay, follow up, Honorable Mani.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson.
My apologies, Honorable Selepe.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, Chairperson, firstly, on the first issue of the blacklisting, I must express my disappointment that up to this point, when everything is so clear, we've got things in the Madlanga Commission, we've got even a dead part in a passed on Babita, for the SIU to come here and say that they don't have their evidence base, they don't have evidence to link these two companies to an extent of to be able to do the minimum of blacklisting them. When we even have people that have been buried for so many years, I'm very disappointed that how does this operate? How do a company that you go and you even fetch cars from Maumele's house, but you still say you don't have evidence? Why did you even go and fetch cars there? So this is very shocking. There's no correlation, Chairperson, between what is in the public domain and what we are being told here today. So in other words, these companies that have been plundering are allowed to plunder, are allowed to continue to plunder at the guise of saying we don't have evidence. And what was it just for show to go and do that spectacle of asset forfeiture? What was going on then there? That's the first thing. Second, Chairperson, I'm actually perturbed that we then have SIUs naming positions, saying boards, executives, and so on are implicated and all of that. I mean, clearly, if you go to annual reports of these companies, you know exactly who those individuals are. So the SIU is busy soiling people's names without even giving them the right of reply. How is it possible that you come here on a public platform and you say some of the boards and things have done things, they've not done procurement correctly, they have flouted the laws and all of that. And as you speak here, and now you haven't given these people a right of reply. How do you do this? How do you come to public platform and say this? Because by implication, you've actually mentioned names. In fact, you mentioned all of them, because all it takes is someone to just go to these publicly available AFSs and annual financial statements, and then you can see who are there. Then all of a sudden, everybody is implicated. When you have information that can be specific, but no, not this one, is that one, and all of that. But now you've just painted a bad brush to all the board members that ever served in these institutions. I think it's a totally irresponsible approach that you are taking. Lastly, on the minister, I mean, the minister here, I thought he was going to say something that is going to defend the position. Instead, he comes here, he says, working on that, not operational, there's no management structure. Who's supposed to make all of this happen? It's just actually his response shows the failure of executive authority to exercise executive authority. This is what it is. And I'm saying here, the report by the SIU is the one that is not saying there's any improvement. The report by the SIU is dealing with matters at a present tense level. It's not saying historically. They're dealing with things now. They're putting recommendations as we speak of tightening things up and tightening things up. So it confirms that the executive authority currently and previously are catastrophic failures. There's no evidence to corroborate anything different. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mantage.
Honorable Mashaule. Honorable Man is really unfair to everybody here. He is taking a Maganga Commission and everything, the Tembisa situation and everything, and pulls it together. We're talking of Alexkor here. I'm saying this approach that I'm using has been proven correctly. That's why out of 12 entities that were under my control, 7 have clean audits and the remaining 5 have unqualified audits. It's because I put emphasis on governance. Now, Mani want a minister who is a pass boy. Now, I can't be a pass boy. I'm not a pass boy. I worked underground. I know what a pass boy does. I know what a mine overseer does. I know what a shift overseer does. I'm not a pass boy. Mani is having a picture of a minister who is a pass boy, who is there dirtying his hands on everything. I'm having boards in every entity, and I work closely with those boards. And I work with the executive, and when I call the executive to my office, I ensure that the board is present in such a meeting, because I know that there is no minister who is operational. A minister must oversee a governance, and governance must clean the operation. Alexkor has been transferred to our stable. We're working on it. And I will continue saying that we'll work on it until it is right, and it is going to be right in a shorter period than Honorable Mani is expecting, because I am not a pass boy. I am a minister working with a board and the executive. I'm very sure of the correctness of that approach. That is exactly the failure of my predecessor in Alexkor of trying to have a minister being operational. As a result of that, it got into a disclaimer. I'm changing that situation in the quickest way I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. SIU, there is an issue where Honorable Mani is perturbed. He's appointed. Do you want to react to that?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, Chairperson, in response to the disappointment on the facts that we have disclosed here, Chairperson, we came to this committee for mineral and energy issues relating to Petro SA, Alexkor, and also the AEMFC. We did not really prepare to answer questions on Tembisa Hospital and other investigations. My response, Chair, was very generic to say that we, for any investigation, if we get to identify any irregularities against the service provider, we refer the service provider to the state institution for it to be blacklisted through National Treasury. I was intentionally responding like that, Chairperson, so that I don't get to disclose certain facts on matters that are really not related to our presentation today. And then when I then mentioned Medicare 24, because that was what Honorable Mangi mentioned, that Medicare 24, what are we doing? I did mention that we have not at this stage investigated. We don't have any proclamation in relation to Medicare 24. However, that is a fact, Chair. For any investigation that we do, once we come across any wrongdoing, we do refer to the state institution for it to refer then the entity for blacklisting by National Treasury. And if then the committee would like us to be specific on this, Chairperson, I would really like through you, Chairperson, through your office, Chairperson, that we respond in writing and not to disclose certain aspects of other investigations that are not related to today's presentation publicly. Then on the naming of boards, I've indicated, Chairperson, that our investigation, which is based on facts and documents, we do a forensic investigation and then we rely on all the documents that we get to be provided with. So based on the documentation that we've analyzed and information that is currently at hand, we have made these findings and these preliminary findings. And what is left is to give then the persons of interest the right of reply. We don't just get to publicize their names willy-nilly. We give them right of reply first based on the facts that we have already gathered and based on the information that is documented. So in this instance, we are not irresponsible naming, referring to boards. It's information that we have and the board minutes and the approval, the document approval that are in our possession that makes us to get to that preliminary finding. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Sibe. Let me make it clear that you will not be expected to write to us a report on Tembisa and Maumela and all of that. We are dealing with minerals here and petroleum. You have presented what you presented. I will implore Honorable Mani to write a question for return reply or whatever to the relevant minister. We can't bombard this committee with irrelevant information to this committee. Honorable Mantashe, I see your hand is up again. Do you have something again?
There's one thing that I wanted to remind Honorable Mani is that we took Alexkor without a board for 3 years, and nobody commented about that. We've put a board in place now, and that entity is having proper governance for the first time in 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mantashe. Honorable Slepe.
Chairperson, good morning, and honorable members.
Honorable Minister and the Deputy and the SIU. Chairperson, I just want to indicate few things that was on the report, but perhaps before I even go further to the questions, Chairperson, I just want to bring this to the attention of the Minister. It's really disturbing that 5 of the state-owned companies that are reporting under the department that is led by the minister are under investigation with a very serious allegation. That is not right. We cannot run away from that. And Chairperson, one other thing that we need to fix with Honorable Minister, as the leader of a certain department, you need to allow to be criticized. You need not to be emotional about the fact that you have been confronted with the wrong things that are happening in your department. Like, for the fact that this thing has been ongoing, the very same committee is the one that recommended the SIU to investigate the things that are happening at Alexkor. Because of people of Richardsville community, they've been having challenges forever. They were never attended to, and their matters were never resolved. We cannot keep quiet. We are here to oversee everything what is happening, and the minister, we are here to hold the minister accountable to everything that is happening under his department. And if he's not doing anything to people who are direct reporting to him, his boss, as minister mentioned, the boss that are reporting is working close to, he needs to make sure these people are doing their work. I'm surprised that the AG report throughout the years, it cannot went to the other year, while the year that was shown that the investigation, the audit, they failed the audit, and then it has went on and on and on without any accountability. That is wrong. We need to make sure that our state funds are really protected from these people. My first question, Chairperson, given that the SIU investigation does not have an end date, and the amendment to the proclamation expanded the scope of the investigation without providing reasons, what is the expected timeline for the completion of the investigation? What reasons inform the expansion of the investigation? What's a preliminary report produced under the initial scope of the proclamation? 2, what resources have been allocated to the Alexkor investigation, and are they sufficient? What challenges has SIU encountered in conducting the investigation, and what measures have been implemented to address them? How has the SIU addressed the situation where individuals have refused to disclose the identities of buyers and detail of diamond sales based on confidential agreements? Then the last one, Chairperson, or second last, how has the evidence from the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegation of the state capture assisted the SIU investigation? Has the SIU engaged with the Richardsville community contract workers or whistleblowers to obtain additional information? Chairperson, that one I'm taking because if the time when we went to oversight, the people of that area, they are mentioning that there's a political interference in this thing. Then, as this investigation is still on, if they didn't get that information, can they please go back to these very same communities and get who are those interfering in terms of political? Because everything that has been in this situation is because of political interference. We need to know who are those sneaking their nose in this thing of Alexkor. We cannot allow that to happen. The last one is I'm closing, Chairperson. The investigation for such critical matters, people who are alleged to be dented in this matter, for the benefit of the people of this country, will it not be prudent that people to allow the SIU to flag their passport to avoid the fugitives? Because if the matter is going to this stage, some of them, they might decide to flee or be fugitive, run away from the country, and it will disturb the investigation of this thing. I'm checking with the SIU, what are the plans for that particular instant? If one maybe might think, because in nowadays we have people with dual citizenship, I'm checking what will be the plan in case someone has a dual citizenship. Have they investigated with those who are alleged to be dented in these matters, are not in the position of dual citizenship? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Let's get the first reaction from Honorable Mandashe, and then we'll come to the SIU.
Thank you, Honorable Mashaole. I don't know what is new in the committee. The three companies flagged here, we have reported to the committee on them. Petro SA, AE, and we also reported on Alexkor. Now, Honorable Slap asked us to say, are we not concerned about three companies being under investigation? No, we have not commissioned the investigation. This committee has commissioned the investigation. We will not interfere with that process. We'll wait for the report and react on issues that we can report to. The question of the State Capture Commission helping the SIU is quite a strange issue, because I think it's an issue that must be cleared here. We're not talking about the Zondo Commission here. We're talking about an SIU investigation. If the SIU uses the State Capture report in their investigation, they must not disclose that here. The running away, there are two issues that I want to deal with. The running away from the investigation, I can assure you, Honorable Chairperson, that if I'm running away, I will go to Kala. I have a citizenship of South Africa and a citizenship of Kala. So the SIU will find me in Kala if I ran away. Political interference, it can only refer to me. I'm the only political authority over Alexkor, Petro SA, and AE. So if there is that interference, I will want to hear it when it is identified. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Klesima.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, to respond to the first question on the expected timelines, for the Petro SA investigation, the TNA one, we anticipate to conclude our investigation on the 30th of April this year, which is in 2 months' time. No, sorry, in a month's time, sorry. And then for both Alexkor and EMFC, the expected completion date is 30th June 2026. We may, Chairperson, extend the Alexkor based on then the evaluator. Remember, we are still procuring the services of the evaluator to do some valuation. So that may be then the reason for us to extend. Otherwise, the investigation is planned and classified to be finalized by 30th June 2026. In terms of the resources that are allocated to Alexkor, Honorable Chairperson, SIU allocates a multidisciplinary team to the investigation, and where there is a need for maybe expert the appointment of experts, when we do not have our internal ones, we do go out on tender and appoint the experts, as it is in the case of Alexkor, where we are now seeking the services of evaluator. So that's basically, so we've got lawyers, we've got cyber experts, we've got investigators, and we've got accountants, and then forensic data specialist. That's the team that's allocated to Alexkor. Then in terms of then the state capture investigations, Chairperson, what we have interacted with the community. We do have some form of interviews that we conducted with the community, and then we are aware of the issues. Hence, then we indicated that most of these matters are still ongoing, and we are still evaluating the evidence and some form of affidavits that we have collected. But I will pause here, Chair, and request Advocate Libopa to amplify my response in terms of then the questions relating to Alexkor. Over to you, Advocate Libopa.
Thanks, Ms. Gosiba. Indeed, honorable members, we have interacted with various parties, and as part of the investigation process, we are making sure that we do communicate with all interested parties and those individuals that we believe they will assist us in terms of making a proper finding, and also those who are volunteering to assist the process. We have spoken to community representatives, we have been into the community, but without going into the investigation methodology, we are definitely considering all aspects of investigation to ensure that we arrive at a factual finding. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Slepe, are you fine?
You know, just one moment. I just want to just make one thing to be clear. Me mentioning the political interference, I was not referring to the minister. I'm just surprised that he's mentioning that he's himself that is interfering in these matters. But I was reflecting to what we heard when we went to oversight in the community of Richardsveld. They did mention, but that is not my position to say whomsoever they mentioned. But I'm surprised the minister now is saying it's him that is interfering with these issues of Alexkor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You must know that if you react, I will give an opportunity for reaction as well. Honorable Mandaja.
Honorable Mashaule, these entities, the political authority over them is myself. So if there is political interference, I would assume that the first line of defense is myself. If there are other people who are interfering and you call that political interference, then I will leave that to your own imagination. But the political authority over these entities is the minister and the deputy minister, were two. Beyond that, anything else is not direct political interference, can be external political interference.
Thank you. Can we move on, Honorable Slepe?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Ntangweni.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to you, the Minister, the Deputy Minister, and to the SIU team and our staff members. Thank you for the presentation, ma'am. What I first want to find out in terms of proclamations, in your line of work, was there any proclamation that was declined by the President or a minister of any of the work that you needed to do? And then I want to check with you the investigators that you have made mention. You talked about data analysts and all of them, you have listed them. Have we vetted these individuals to see that these individuals do require the proper training or have the proper training to conduct these investigations, because we don't want to find ourselves with another Paul O'Sullivan running around there conducting SIU interviews or investigations. So what is your vetting mechanisms on all of these investigators on doing their work? And I think you have alluded to the time frames of some of this work. And I want to plead with your office that let that deadlines be the deadlines of this work, because communities are looking upon these entities for their refuge and for the exposure of corruption. So we don't want, as the Honorable Manyev earlier on alluded, the SIU now and again just make this Hollywood appearance and arresting people, and then the investigations are taking 3 to 4 years to conclude. Because the one of Petro SA, those individuals ought to be blacklisted, because you can see there's a clear indications of individuals that have destroyed documentation and all of that. So that process of blacklisting ought to happen very expeditiously, because we need to get the rot out of the system, and it can't continue like that. On the last one, I want to check in 2019, the then Department of Public Enterprises appointed Roboto Forensic and Investigating Accounting Services to conduct forensic investigations into Alexkor following allegations of corruption, including matters relating to Scarlet Sky investment. Does the SIU have access to this report, and does it form part of your current SIU investigations? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ntangwini. Ms. Plesibe.
Thank you, Chairperson. But just to respond to the questions from Honorable Ntangwini, we don't have any proclamation that was declined by the presidency or by the DOJ, because when there are queries, we deal with them between the department and SIU before they are even processed to the president. So the answer is no, we haven't had that problem of having a motivation for proclamation being declined. Then on the vetting of officials, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, when we appoint members to join the SIU, they go through a very vigorous process of vetting, including also voice stress analysis. There is a process, there is an division which we call the risk division within the SIU that deals with all of that. We don't get people that to be appointed at the SIU without a proper screening process. And over and above that, we do what we call on every year, like certain intervals, we do these random checks where we then select a number of employees to be vetted, and that process then gets to be thoroughly done by this independent division of the SIU. Over and above that, we are working closely with the SSA, where our members, they get then to be vetted through that office, and then they get the levels of the clearance. So with that, then I think we are comfortable as SIU that our members, before you even get to be appointed, you go through a thorough and vigorous process. Then in terms of then the deadlines and the timeframes, Honorable Ntangwini, we really try our best to meet our deadlines, and we understand where you're coming from. We don't want to do that. We don't want to extend our investigation beyond the deadline dates unreasonable. We have now classified our investigations in terms of then the complexity, depending on the size of the work. Then the projects are classified and have therefore then they are measured, and then the deadlines are set at the beginning of the investigation when we appoint members. Then the blacklisting of officials. What we are doing as the SIU, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, every time we come across a misconduct by an individual, we afford that individual a right of reply, even if that particular individual has left the employ of the department. And by doing so, then we afford the right of reply, and then we refer a disciplinary referral to the institution that is relevant. And that we are trying to prevent these individuals from moving from one department to the other. So we still do it even if they are not in the employ of the department anymore. And that goes to their records and to their personal file. In terms of the last question on the investigation by the Department of Enterprises, I will then request my colleague who Advocate Redbone Libopa to respond to the questions whether we do have access to the Gobodo the reports. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Thanks once more, Mr. Sive. Honorable members, indeed, we are aware about the Gobodo report. Yes, we had sight of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I had no question.
Indicated that they have sight of the report, but I want to ask, is that report forming part of the investigations? I think that I was not answered on that second aspect of my question.
Okay. Response to that?
Thanks for the question. The report, we are aware about it. From the SIU perspective, when we perform investigation, we always ensure that our work becomes an independent work of the SIU. Any other information that we receive, we treat it as such, as information or intelligence to be assisted. But over and above that, we perform our own procedures and processes to ensure that we are able to say what we produce is an independent work of the SIU. Thank you.
Honorable Ntangweni, are you fine?
Thank you, Chair. I'm covered. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Senne?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Minister, Deputy Minister, honorable members, and everyone in the meeting. Chair, let me first appreciate the work being done by SIU in uncovering irregularities within entities of the state. And also, Chair, let me congratulate the Minister for ensuring that there's proper governance at Alexkor. It shows that he takes the committee's recommendations seriously. Ra leboga, Minister. Chair, on the timeline issue, I'm not going to repeat. Honorable members already asked, and we already received a response from SIU. And I just want to know, Chair, up to so far, SIU working together with other stakeholders, is there any officials or individuals that have been referred for disciplinary action, civil litigation, litigation, or criminal prosecution? I'm interested to know up to so far what has been done in terms of that. And also, I'm interested to know what are the main challenges does the SIU face in ensuring that consequence management actually takes place, especially immediately after investigations are completed? Are there any challenges that they face? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Tosima.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I've reported in my presentation. Thank you, firstly, to Honorable Sempe for the work, for the kind words. In terms of the referrals, at the moment, Honorable Chair, we have referred the entities and some officials to the NPA. And my understanding is that the matter is already in court. However, I will allow Advocate Libopa to then expand on that one in terms of the Alexkor investigation. Others, as we have reported, Honorable Chairperson and members, the Petro SA one, we may refer disciplinary matters, but we have found no procurement irregularities except for the destruction of documents, which we are contemplating the referral in terms of the South African Archives Act. So the main challenges, but Advocate Libopa will expand on this one. The main challenges regarding our investigation is the availability of documentation for both African Exploration, Mining and Finance Corporation, as well as Petro SA, as we have reported that documents have been destroyed. But in terms of the challenges relating to consequence management, I don't have any that I have from the team, but I will allow the colleagues, Mr. Masilela and Advocate Libopa, to expand on that and to respond fully on those questions. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Mr. Libopa, you want to come?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Mr. Kosiba. In respect of the information relating to investigation, indeed, it's quite a challenge, especially on Africa exploration, because most of the information that we require for investigation is not available. Although we are relying on copies, which we got from the service provider that was assisting them to perform an investigation prior, it's not everything is there. So there's quite a lot of missing puzzle. We have performed some other investigation procedures, of course, to try to get information to assist that. That will be your imaging of computers, laptops, or phones, tablets, to try to make sure that we get information to be able to perform our investigation. So by so saying, we are trying our best to ensure that we get all possible information, and we are working with experts within to ensure that we are able to really make sure that our findings are factual on that. In the respect of the working with other enforcement, indeed it has been confirmed that we are working with IDEC, and I believe they are making progress on their side on that one. The issue relating to consequence management, one of the issues that we have identified in both, especially relating to the institutions themselves, as much as we make referrals, DC referrals, in both institutions, that is Alexkor and Africa Exploration, officials who were involved in performing these transactions are no longer within the institutions. So the referrals will be made to avert the issue of not moving around the departments, and also there are criminal referrals that were made for Alexkor, and there will be a criminal referral to be made for African Exploration, to ensure that indeed there is consequence management, and whoever has transgressed the required prescripts is held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Libopa. There was a gratitude expressed towards you, Minister. Do you want to react?
No. I'm just appreciating it. It's a rare occurrence.
Thank you. Honorable Senne, are you fine?
I'm fine, Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Zondi?
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me start by greeting the Honorable Minister and the Deputy Minister. Let me also greet Ms. Asibe as well as your team. Let me also greet the honorable members as well as the support staff. Most of my questions have been covered, Chair. However, the ones that are outstanding, it's around the issue. So, Mr. Asibe, when you say that you are considering a referral of disciplinary action in case of employees that might move to other state-owned enterprise, what would inform this decision? I know that you obviously give these affected individuals a right of reply, but what is the timeline for this if they do not reply? Do you then continue with the referral? And what is the timeline in terms of the right of reply? How much are they given? How much time are they given to reply? And in the case of those employees you can't trace, what then happens? Then the other question is with regards to the PetroSA employees who might have destroyed records, who are not employed obviously by PetroSA. Are there instances where you found maybe some of them are still working for the state in some capacity? Then the other one is with regards to Alexkor, the issue of undervaluing of diamonds. The reports did suggest that they were undervalued by up to 30%. Are you finding the same thing, even though you're still obviously continuing with the investigation? And then the monies recovered, if they'll ever be recovered, will those monies then filter down to the mining contractors who were obviously then given an unfair cut of the proceedings? Those are my questions, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Zondi. Mr. Asibe?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, in considering the DCs for employees who have left the employ, the rationale behind this is that we would like to avoid a situation where employees they move from one department to the other, and in most instances we have observed that once we receive a proclamation, some of the employees they do resign, and then you find them in other state institutions. So in the main is to avoid those officials who have done some wrongdoing there to get away with matter. Then the timeline for the right of reply. In our letter, we do provide the right of reply in two forms. We either call a person for an in-person interview where he appears before the special investigating unit in person, or we do provide them with a letter, and in the letter we do give like 7 working days as a turnaround time. But if then there are any reasons for requesting an extension, most of the people, the persons of interest, they do request an extension, maybe for them to consult their lawyers before they respond. So then, but even that, we normally constrain it to a number of days, like 7 working days. That's the normal process. For the employees that we cannot trace, yes, we do have those instances where we can, but we normally employ number of such platforms, some that we are paying for and some that are just like easily available. We do trace, and then it's only in rare circumstances where we do not get to trace some of the employees and former employees of government. In terms of then the undervalued diamonds, at the moment, we are expecting the valuator to do a full valuation of the whole entire process so that we can determine the exact the loss that the state suffered in terms of then the valuations of this diamond, Chairperson. Recoveries. When we recover, we do recoveries like we would recover through a special tribunal or directly from the people signing AODs, acknowledgement of debts, and then those recoveries, that is the money that doesn't go to the SIU, it goes back to the state institution that is currently under investigation. I'm not too sure whether then the last one, Advocate Vanara would like to maybe amplify my response because he is actually in charge of the division that does then the litigation. Over to you, Advocate Vanara.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, honorable members, and the Minister and the Deputy Minister. I think Ms. Klasibe has covered me. I have nothing more to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Zondi, are you okay?
Yes, Chair, I'm answered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mufukeng.
Thank you, Chairperson. And good morning, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, Honorable members, SIU team, and support staff. Chairperson, I am interested to know what role the audit committee at AEMFSC played in identifying or preventing the procurement irregularities currently under investigation. And I would also like to know whether any precautionary measures such as suspensions or internal reviews being implemented at the AEMFC while investigations continues. Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable members have already covered my other questions.
Thank you, Ms. Klasibe.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I will request Advocate Libopa to respond to the questions, Chair, because they are just operational questions. Advocate Libopa.
Thanks, Mr. Klasibe, for that. In respect of the audit committee, the role, I would really request the honorable member to allow us to engage and finalize that portion with the affected parties. We are, as part of the ongoing processes, which I'd humbly request that we be allowed to finalize that so that we are able to give the other parties a fair process in terms of what we've been engaging, because it's still ongoing. I would really appreciate on that one.
So on the suspension, are there any suspensions or consequence management already taking place as a result of our investigation?
The issue of consequence management, we're not yet there because we're still finalizing the other aspects of investigation, analyzing what is before us and what we're extracting through our imaging. Once we are at a stage where we have given the right of reply to affected parties, will be able to pronounce after having considered the response on the right of replies. But at the moment, it's part of the ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mfukeng, are you okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me join Portfolio Committee members in appreciating the report, but also welcoming Minister DM, the team, and of course the SIU. This has been a much anticipated meeting for us to really understand what's been going on. And I'm sure the SIU is also abreast that we have physically gone to Alexkor and met with a number of different stakeholders. So we've heard about this particular case from a number of different angles. So I just thought it's important to preface some of those elements. I'm going to ask a few different questions, or maybe from a different angle. They might have been covered from the other side, but I just need to clarify a few things. The SIU, you say that the valuation and the quantification work is still ongoing, even though you've already found that we know service providers sold diamonds through closed auctions, and I think it's already been asked about the value of that, sure. And they held 44 sales between, I think it's March 2015 and August 2020. There were risks of collusion in that auction. Has the SIU developed at least a provisional estimate of how much Alexkor, but this is the most important part, the Richtersveld community through the PSJV, the actual community whose stake is in Alexkor, how much they would have lost from undervaluation and non-competitive sales? That's my first question. I also want to talk about this service provider had the sole discretion to choose the 5% of diamonds for beneficiation. Obviously, that's created a risk for top quality stones that could be removed before auction. And that beneficiation company was an associate operating from the same address as the selling agent. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Has the SIU treated this as a possible related sort of party? You know, we're not necessarily saying they're familiarly related, but a related party extraction scheme? And have they traced whether the state and community were deprived of premium stones before the open price discovery could occur? And then just on a side note, one of the things that Mr. Craythorne, who has petitioned us and to Alexkor, has said he's also gone to the Competition Commission. And I'm just interested to know if the SIU has had any interactions with the Competition Commission on some of these issues. I understand the mandate of the SIU, excuse me, is different, but I thought it would just be interesting to hear that. And then on the state diamond trader and the possible manipulation of that statutory 10% offer, you've said as the SIU that in some instances, the 10% selection for the state diamond trader was done by Alexkor's appointed service provider rather than independently. And we're seeing that the 2025 proclamation was expanded to include the state diamond trader. Does the SIU suspect that that statutory 10% mechanism may have been compromised? And what controls should exist to ensure that STT is not being presented with a curated lower value parcel while better stones are diverted elsewhere? And then, Chair, I'm just quickly looking at my notes because I think the other ones would have been asked. Sorry, just give me a moment. Okay, we've asked about the Gobodo report. Okay, last 1.5, Chair. Very quickly on confidentiality, the Alex Bay diamonds have been reportedly refused to disclose to buyers in the sale details to Alexkor itself. And this is one of the complaints that have come through meeting the community and people there, even to the State Capture Commission, right, citing confidentiality agreements. How does a private contractor get to hide the identities of buyers of state diamonds from the state? And has the SIU now obtained the full buyer list, as well as some of those beneficial ownership details and some of those sales records? And if not, what legal steps are still outstanding? And Chair, I'll finish on this one. The people of the Richtersveld, I mean, we've been there. The people on the ground in those communities are so impoverished. And it's not just about the balance sheet. I know we're all worried about the money that's been lost, and I've asked questions on that as well. But it's not only a state-owned company, you know, it's a joint venture involving the community. And I'm interested to know if the SIU has had direct engagement with this community, with workers, with small contractors who we've also met with. You know, from an oversight point of view, we need to know whether the recovery efforts are being designed to merely clean up the paperwork and the balance sheets, or to actually restore the economic rights of a community that have fundamentally been deprived through these sort of manipulated transactions. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Hassan. Mr. Siba.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I will request Advocate Libopa to respond to some of the questions. Advocate Libopa.
Thanks, Mr. Siba, and thanks, Honorable Hassan, for the comprehensive question. Indeed, the investigation is still ongoing, and I can reconfirm that, yes, we have the noted 44 sales. And then we speak of collusive and possible collusion around that because we have already identified patterns that points towards that. things like where the person who's involved in the auction or driving or managing the auction process, the company where the person's partner is also bidding. So that is one example that I can give. We have those kind of examples, and we have those kind of evidence that we have established. Our processes in terms of providing a comprehensive process, we decided on making sure that we get a diamond evaluator to ensure that the figures that are going to be presented have been audited and we are comfortable with. We are aware that from our own number crunching and looking at the entire sales, we're talking just over $1 billion. So, but it's not a number that I'd want us to look at as a final number, but rather as a preliminary number that is subject to verification by a diamond evaluator, so that we're able to really say this is what we can go with. You also alluded to the issue of, Honorable Mbomba, to the issue of the beneficiation company who is sharing address with the appointed service provider. We are aware about that, and then we are also making specific investigation procedures around that, be it around the issues of conflict of interest, the issue of manipulation, to ensure that we have an holistic approach, understanding, and factual funding around any possible irregularities or mismanagement of the sale process or beneficiation. In terms of the diamonds or the stones, to ensure that there's no issue of compromise or any reduction of precious stone before the sales and everything, that the appointed evaluator will amplify and ensure that we also arrive at the factual finding as it's possible for diamond to be tracked back even on paper. So without going too much into that, the mandate that we will be giving the evaluator, which is already there, it's quite vast, it's quite huge. It covers a number of areas which will make sure that we are able to be comfortable with our findings and evidence that is going to be presented. We spoke about the 10% and specifically on the state diamond traders. We are looking at whether the diamonds have been undervalued and there's been compromise of sale. For us to be able to do so, we need to look at all angles, all the value chain in respect of how the diamonds were sold. As the state diamond trader, by law, they will have to purchase up to 10%. So we need to look at that transaction if also it was done fairly, as we need to establish where was the compromise, where was the undervaluing, because it could have happened at various angles. We're not saying anyone or any entity has wronged in the process, but we're looking at whether the process could have been compromised as the transactions were finalized. The issue of the sales record. We do have records in respect of the transactions. We believe we have all necessary documents that will assist the experts to also go through them, peruse, and make a finding, be it from the entities themselves or the service providers. We have also the list and names of all those role players that have been involved in the entire process, be it those who bought or not or did not buy. The recovery process, as much as it's something that we're going into based on the findings of the evaluator, the purpose of the recovery will basically ensure that whatever is recovered is returned where is due. In this instance, if it's something that it should be returned to State Diamond Trader, it will be like that. If it's something that it should be returned to Alexkor, it should be like that. And in respect of Alexkor, there was a process that Alexkor is following in terms of making sure that all other parties who are supposed to get their cut and share should be getting it from Alexkor. That process will be followed in consultation because we are aware of how the other parties who were contracted to Alexkor were getting what is due to them. And indeed, we have spoken to various members who can assist, and I would also request that we not be allowed to mention anyone who we have consulted to ensure that they are protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you answered, Honorable Hassan?
I think from what's outstanding of what I was saying is around the Competition Commission, that one, and then no one answered on whether the community has actually been consulted and engaged with. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Hassan. In respect of the Competition Commission, we always engage the Competition Commission, but firstly, we need to establish the issues around horizontal practice or contravention of the Competition Act. Indeed, it's something that is on part of our processes. As we look the issues of procurement, we always look at the issues of horizontal practices and so forth to ensure that the Competition Commission is not contravened and the referrals to them is made as they're empowered to look into those issues. So we have not, it's something that we are also definitely looking at.
Thank you. Are we good, Honorable?
It's just the community question, whether the community has been consulted and met with, etc. Sorry, Chair, it's just that one was outstanding.
Honorable Hassan, maybe what I can confirm, we have spoken to community representatives. We have spoken to various individuals. For sure, with our process, there are members who have been elected to represent community in that space, and indeed we have spoken to them, and we'll continue to engage them as the investigation is going on. It's ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, those were the questions and answers. You know we are supposed to be moving to Ekapa mining. I am satisfied, Honorable Minister and the SIU, that this presentation today will help us a great deal to come with what we wanted to, which are points of reference to do our own work and not duplicate what the SIU is doing. I want to appreciate this presentation, thoroughly done. And just to say to the SIU, there's no bad blood between anyone in this committee. We just prefer to be robust. You may have had some exchanges, forgive us, but it's our job, and that's how we conduct it. Honorable members, can I give SIU some parting shots and Honorable Mandashe some parting shot, and then we will close the meeting and move to Ekapa. And I must say, after this meeting, 20 minutes after this meeting, we're assembling outside to make way to Ekapa. SIU?
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. No, we do appreciate the robustness, and we actually appreciate it. Otherwise, then we are very grateful for the invitation, and we will be available for future invitations if there's any need for us to appear before the committee again. Thank you so much, Chairperson. That's all from us.
Thank you, Honorable Mandela.
No, thank you, Honorable Mashaule. I can only wish you a good journey to Ekapa. One boat was retrieved last night. We still have 4 underground. Hope that your visit will accelerate the process. I have appreciated being in part of this meeting. I hope that the final report will be helpful to the department in strengthening administration in all the 3 entities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SIU and Honorable Mantashe. And thanks for everybody who has been here. I've seen the chair of Alexkor, I've seen the DG, I've seen Mr. Gavin Creighton. So it's good that you're following it here and not get a report somewhere. Can I declare this meeting adjourned, and at 22:12 we are leaving for Ekapa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.